when I got when I met a friend who Lillian Murad. She had a first cousin
Mm-hmm.
who lived in Hamburg,
Ah.
and he was visiting America. And when I met him at Lillian's house, it turned out he was a car dealer in Hamburg. So out of that, I arranged for him to send me three Mercedes Benzes. I kept one for myself. Arshak Tarpinian took the other one, and I sold the third one. In any event, when the car came, it already still had German license plates on it
Mm-hmm.
and the letter D for Deutschland. So once I saw that, I left those plates on the car, and I realized that all I had to do was get my New York plates, clip them onto the existing German plates, and whenever I parked illegally, I would take the New York plates off, and the car would be sitting there with German plates, and none of the New York cops knew that D meant Deutschland. So I was doing that in the neighborhood. I was living on 3rd Avenue and 45th Street,
Mm-hmm.
and so I was always midtown with the car, moving it from side to side. And I got a bunch of tickets as a result. But the tickets were always on the German plates because I always took my New York plates off. So as a result, one day I was late moving the car. It was on 49th Street. I lived on 45th Street. And I went to pick up the car between 2nd and 3rd Avenue. And as soon as I got into the car, there was a policeman waiting for me to come to the car. And so he had me drive around to the police station, and I got arrested. And while I was there, a newspaper, they call the Daily News
Mm.
to talk about, this guy who was arrested, and a guy shows up with a camera, and he wants to take my picture. And I kept blocking my face. I said, "Why do you want to take my picture? I haven't done anything really of any importance." And he said it was a Daily News story, that they were interested in it. And he said, "I'll make a deal with you." He said, "You let me take your picture, and I'll go out and get you a sandwich for breakfast." So I did that. I never thought it would actually get into the paper. And before I knew it, they ran an article that night, and they dubbed me Harry the Switch because of my switching license plates. And that little article, which is on page 5, with my picture in it, suddenly was picked up by the Associated Press in a smaller article that ended up going all around the country. So I had friends in California and Detroit, whatever, calling me, being concerned that I was arrested, and the whole thing was really a bad joke. In any event, I had 15 outstanding tickets, and I hired Noah Bronstein, who was a well-known attorney, and his main clients were prostitutes. Anyway, he represented me in the case. We went to court, and I still didn't know if I was going to end up going to jail, doing jail time for this. And Noah got me off. We bribed the judge $300. I paid a fine, and I went home. And so I became famous briefly as Harry the Switch, my notoriety. And then my friend in Philadelphia, John Katabjian, said, "Let's throw a party, a dance to collect money for you to pay the fine." And so from Philadelphia, he was going to arrange a dance in New York, And of course, he never did. And he had me hire the hall, get the band organized, etc. And we had a dance party at Webster Hall on 11th Street. Was that Webster Hall? I'm not sure if it was Webster Hall. Anyway, whatever the hall was called, and we had about 500 people there, and all the musicians from 8th Avenue came and played, and so it was a nice evening. And I made enough money from it to pay the fine, and when I went to court with Noah Bronstein, as I said, we bribed the judge $300, and he passed sentence on me, and I had to pay a fine. I think it was $1,500, and that was the end of it.
Mm.
And that became my moment of notoriety, and I got dubbed Haroutiun Switch. And then years later, when we were in Armenia, in 2008, I think it was, when we all went to Armenia, I wanted to know if it would be possible to have you and your brother rebaptized at Etchmiadzin, since you were baptized in America. But since we were there in Etchmiadzin, I wanted to know if you could be rebaptized there. And I saw the priest at a social affair, and I went over to talk to him. And this priest, he had his gown on, and he had his headpiece, and I couldn't see his face. So I was asking him about this baptismal, and he said to me, "Hello, Harry, the Switch." And here it was 20, 30 years later from the time I was Harry the Switch, and I was amazed that he would call me that.
You almost fell to the floor or something, right?
Well, it turned out he was the priest from Worcester who knew about my Harry the Switch story when he was in America. Now he was in Etchmiadzin, but when he saw me, he recognized me as Harry the Switch. So that was a pretty funny moment.
Oy.
That was the long and short of my notoriety.